2020 ruined a lot of things. At least it ruined a lot of things for me. And if looking at the discourse on the internet and how it's changed over the past nearly 6 years now, it seems that 2020 ruined a lot of things for a lot of people. Or at the very least, it changed their perception of a great many things. Now, we all know what happened in 2020. I don't need to repeat that, and plus I'm not really sure what you can and can't say with regards to that on YouTube. I don't know if the rules have relaxed a little bit or if they're still very, very strict to combat quote-unquote misinformation with regards to that. But I think it's fair to say that it did change the way a lot of people think and the way a lot of people see things. So it's like back in 2019, just before it all kicked off, you would do things like you would eat fast food, you would play video games, listen to music, watch films, you go for days out, you would just kind of live your life. And certainly there were people who were more politically tuned in than others. I would describe myself as something of a red-pilled normie before then. I was aware of certain things, but I didn't think too deeply about them. I didn't see, danger around every corner the way that I kind of do now, I'm sad to say. It's like things that were commonplace and ubiquitous and just something that you kind of took for granted back in before 2019. They're all things that are laden with, boogeymen that are going to get you somehow. It's like with fast food now, everybody has known forever that fast food isn't good for you. Nobody ever claimed it was healthy. But for me personally, the deepest my thoughts on fast food ever went before 2020 was, this is fattening, and that was about it. But now, my mind is filled with terms like seed oils and processed and fluoride, things like that. You start to break things down and you find yourself wanting to, or not necessarily wanting to, but just kind of involuntarily getting into the nitty-gritty of things and researching them and going down endless rabbit holes. So now, fat food isn't just something that's tasty and convenient, but not good for you. It's something that it's full of chemicals that are known to be extremely bad for you, but they do it anyway. And there's an element of evil, like there's a black cloud over everything now. You know that the people that make these decisions, it's not that they're just taking on an attitude of, well, we live in a free country, people can eat whatever they want. That's kind of how it seems so naive and quaint now that I ever thought like that. But I did used to think like that. I used to think, well, they do it and it's up to people what they do and they share that same attitude. But no, what it is it's malice. It is genuine malice from a lot of people in high places. That's why they do this kind of thing. That's why they add these chemicals to food. And not just fast food either, any kind of processed stuff like, microwave meals, things like that, or, fish fingers and all, lots and lots of frozen pizzas. They're full of seed oils and stuff. A lot of the stuff that goes into the food is a known carcinogen. It's literally known to cause cancer, and yet they still put it out there. So it can only be malice. It can only be hostility from them. And I'm kind of glad in a way that the scales have fallen from my eyes in that regard, and I can see it for what it is. I kind of would like to go back to being a normie. I was much happier being a normie. I think most people are happier being normies than being, on this side of things where you see things for how they are, being a political dissident. Being a dissident isn't fun. It's not nice. It's just, we're correct. So you just have to put up with it. And it's not just fast food or processed foods either. It's things like I said before. I gave a list of things like video games and films and music and stuff. But video games, now all you can do is think, what NGO has been fiddling about with this game? Is it Sweet Baby? Is it some other one that we don't know about? One, some shadowy evil thing that's lurking in the background that's adding in all kinds of nonsense. just to ruin it and just to push their own viewpoint and stuff. Back in, like, I play Fallout 3 a lot at the moment. You'll find on this channel I'll be talking about and referencing Fallout 3 quite a lot. And in Fallout 3 you had memorable characters, people like Lucas Sims, you had the Mechanist, the guy who fights the Antagonizer, and, there's other ones as well. Off the top of my head I can't remember who they are, but back then, you just took it as a given that, okay, they're in the game, that's fine, whatever. It never even really occurred to you. Or maybe it did, but it just didn't have quite the strong reaction within you that it might have now. Because back then, yeah, they were just in the game, but now, it's like, why? You're questioning why they're there. Have they been put in there for a reason? Has some NGO decreed that they must be in there and they've been forced in there? Was it originally not a black character or whatever, and they were changed to be one for political reasons? And that thought is always going around in your mind. Same with films. Characters like in Predator, for example. You had Carl Weathers, you had what's the other guy's name? I can't remember his name. I think it's Bill. Is it Bill Duke? I'm not sure if it's Bill Duke. But yeah, you had those two. And they were just there. And it was fine. And you never really gave it much thought. Now, when they make a film and it's got, characters of that race, you're thinking, ooh, why are they there? They've just been, and the chances are they probably have just been shoehorned in. And it's, it's a really exhausting way to live. And it's a way that's kind of been, it's really hard to shed that way of thinking from your mind. Like, you can't just go to a website or a shop or a restaurant or any kind of establishment, really, without having that instinct to first do a bit of a background check on them. You think, what woke garbage have they been peddling over the past few years, since the Great Awakening took place in 2015 or whenever it was. And you end up finding yourself being really, really choosy about where you spend your money, and it really sucks the fun out of everything. I mean, long term, it is a good thing. You need to be careful and you need to be vigilant with who you give your money to, because you could very well be giving your money to people who despise you and want you gone. It's like with Netflix. I never really gave any thought to having a Netflix subscription pre-2020. There was some stuff on there that, back then, like I said, I was a bit of a red-pilled normie, so I saw things, things that would have people like the Critical Drinker or Nerdrotic, making videos about. Back then, I would see that sort of thing, and I would just kind of roll my eyes and be like, because I thought all this sort of thing, all this sort of extreme leftism, I thought it was basically harmless, and I thought it was just simply the domain of artsy-fartsy types in Hollywood, and that was about it. I really didn't see the fact that it had its tentacles through absolutely everything. The universities, global finance, all that kind of stuff, the corporations. It had infected everywhere. I just didn't see it back then. I see it now. And I have to confess, I do have a Netflix subscription. It's more for the fiance than for me, to be honest, because there's things on there she loves to watch, and when she's not at work, she would just be extremely bored without it. And you gotta you have to for your loved ones who are still a bit on the normie side, you just have to make allowances, don't you? But other people are holding Netflix's feet to the fire, which is a good thing, especially with that Stranger Things finale. I haven't watched Stranger Things in years, but yeah, I heard about it, seen the videos that have been made about it, so there are people out there who are holding them to task, which is good. I'm not really one of them, but people are doing it, so that's good. And I said before about, you may be giving your money to people who despise you and hate your guts. And, that's kind of the thing as well. It colours every interaction you have with anyone now. You're thinking, when you meet somebody, you're wondering, and it's not something people really would have thought about much before. The majority of people wouldn't have met somebody new and then been thinking to themselves, oh, I wonder what their political views are, because politics is everywhere now. Everything has always been political, but not overtly so. Now everything is just overt politics all the time. You'll end up just being in a conversation with somebody and they'll bring up something that's like the current thing, and it's just exhausting, I mean, I'll talk politics. That's the thing. I will talk politics. I'm not averse to it because I'm not a complete normie. I'm not clueless. I know what's going on. But it's just exhausting, and it's like any fun that you have now. Back, before 2020, I would say that fun was just when you were doing something enjoyable, it just permeated you and the atmosphere. It was just, I'm doing this and I'm having a good time. Now, fun is a mask. It's a plaster that you paste over the wound. And your wound, the wound is this new way of thinking where all you can think about are all the horrible things that are being inflicted on you from on high. And you see it in your everyday life now. It's not just some abstract thing that's relegated solely to the internet. You'll watch a video and it's like, oh, this horrible thing happened today. No, you are seeing it yourself now. You go out into city centres, or even in my small town that I live in, you start to see new arrivals, shall we put it. And, it's just, you can see the slow creep, and it's creeping towards you, slowly but surely, and it's going to get you one day. And most of this stuff was never on my mind, pre-2020, but now it is, just how rotten everything actually is. And the worst part about it as well is that you start retroactively going back and looking at things from the past and seeing things that you didn't see before. Films, video games, etc., etc. You'd go back and you'd be like, oh, right, that's an early form of this that we have now, if you know what I mean. It's just, I don't know, my eyes have, over the past 6 years, my eyes have been really opened to just how unpleasant the so-called free world is. Anyway, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say in this video. I wonder if anyone out there feels the same. I'm guessing a lot of people have. A lot of people's eyes have been opened to certain things. So, yeah, just if you enjoyed this video, just leave a comment with your thoughts, blah, 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 etc., etc. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.